The sunlight, you squeeze your eyes tightly shut after only a few steps. The time spent underground has made you so sensitive to light that you're forced to seek shelter in the shade of a mighty oak. You reach a small lake by a birchwood. Your feet hurt and your eyes still sting in the unaccustomed sunlight, but a smile spreads across your face nonetheless. You've covered a decent distance on the first day of your big journey. You pitch your camp and lie down to sleep on the hard forest floor. When you awake in the morning, your legs are stiff and achy. Trying not to feel sorry for yourself, you throw your rucksack over your shoulder. You're a dwarf, and dwarves don't complain. Around midday, with the sun high in the sky and the first beads of sweat appearing on your forehead, you see something move next to the road, a few hundred meters ahead. Some crows are pecking at something in the long grass. The creaking leather armor, the clattering rucksack, and a dwarf's inability to be quiet makes the crows flap around as you move from one bush to another. You give up trying to be stealthy, stand up straight, and see two human bodies in the flattened grass. A rucksack that probably belonged to one of the dead. It seems to have been searched and then thrown away carelessly. You find a few implements, some provisions, and a map. A route is drawn on it from Parista, Nudin's capital, to Lot-Yonan's vaults. You look down on a tall, broadly built man. He's wearing dark brown leather armor that is strengthened with iron plates. There's a sword lying next to him. Was he trying to defend himself against something? Or someone? There is no blood on the sword.
By Vracus.
There are some narrow stab wounds in the man's chest. The cuts are too big to have been made by arrows, but too small for sword wounds. A slender man lies in front of you, dressed in an expensive robe. It is in the colours of Turgur the Fair-Faced, one of the 6 magi. The dead man must be one of Turgur's famuli. You don't see any wounds.
Does this mean that Turgur the Fair-Faced is in Parista and wanted to send Lot-Yonan a message? And if so, why didn't he use magic? Did he want to contact him without anyone noticing? Why all this secrecy?
The man has the same incisions. It's clear that both men were killed by the same weapon. But what that weapon might be, you cannot say.
Nothing.
You don't see any signs of a struggle in the area where the corpses are lying. Were they stabbed by a companion? A stranger could hardly have crept up on them with such sparse cover.
Nothing again.
You halt. There is something.
Another rucksack?
You open the rucksack and recognize that someone has already rummaged through it. As well as some implements and writing utensils, you find a pouch full of gold and a talisman. The gold is proof that this is not a case of robbery. Warmth and a feeling of security flush through your body as you touch the talisman. You feel safer just holding it in your hand.
I'm taking you with me.
You scour the area once more and ask yourself what to do next. It's time-consuming and strenuous work digging shallow graves in the ground with a stick and covering the corpses with a few stones. But it should at least keep the crows from their feasting for a while. You continue on your way so as to put a few more miles between you and your grisly find before night falls. As the gable end of a small farmhouse and a barn appear from behind a hilltop, you hear the loud cries of children at play. A girl runs along the path laughing, followed by a small boy with a big stick in his hand. The boy is trying to catch up his sister with a determined look on his face, but is finding it difficult to keep his short legs under control on the uneven path. You walk towards the children. As you raise your hand to greet them, the boy catches sight of you. His eyes grow wide, and he points to you with a chubby little finger. All he can manage to say is, "There." Now the girl has turned to face you too. Before you can say a word, she lifts her little brother up into her arms and runs screaming towards the farmhouse. Without rushing, you follow the children to the farmhouse into which they've disappeared. After a few moments, they reappear, accompanied by their parents. Their father is a thick-set man with grey hair.
I am Opatia. This is my wife, Remsa.
The blonde woman nods a greeting almost imperceptibly and clasps her daughter tightly to her. She looks you over with an anxious expression.
It's a pleasure to meet you. My name is Tungdal.
You try to make your voice sound as harmless as possible.
I'm sorry if I scared your wife and children.
The man waves dismissively.
No. It's just that my fair woman is especially jumpy these days.
The orcs have been spotted near Calmstead. You should take it more seriously.
The farmer's wife clutches her daughter even tighter before the girl finally protests. The boy steps forward excitedly and cuts the air with his stick.
If strangers come, we're supposed to run away, but I can hit them too.
Opatia pats his son on the head, laughing.
We're safe. The orcs have no reason to come so far north.
Wouldn't it be better to move to one of the bigger villages if there are orcs around?
The farm is our livelihood. We can't just leave the place. The fields don't look after themselves. King Tilagorn's cavalry will take care of the orcs, or Lord Yonan and his magi.
But the cavalry can't be everywhere at once. Even a handful of orcs would be enough to finish us.
Once the seeds are planted, I'll build the hideaway, just as you wish. But what use is a hideaway if we've nothing to eat in the autumn?
Over the last few days, have you seen two travellers heading east?
Opatia looks at his wife, but she shakes her head.
Why do you ask?
I found them. Two dead bodies on the side of the road. A good day's march east from here.
Dead bodies?
She hastily covers her son's ears.
Was it orcs?
Remsa, what would orcs be doing up here? It was probably just bandits.
If there are orcs in the area, then you shouldn't waste any time. Build that hideaway.
The dwarf is right.
Remsa gives you a thankful smile before turning to her husband.
We'll take care of the other problems when we come to them. The most important thing is that we're safe.
Opatia stays silent for a moment, a gloomy expression on his face, before shrugging his shoulders.
All right then. Dwarves do know best when it comes to orcs.
You bid farewell and set off on your way. The children follow you for a while, before saying their goodbyes in laughter and running back towards the farm. You see a flickering light through the trees some way from the path. It might come from a campfire. You creep through the undergrowth towards the fire, but can't prevent your armor from clattering and small twigs from breaking under every heavy step you take. You curse quietly to yourself, but go on until you can see what's going on. 3 broad-shouldered men with axes sit at a campfire on which 2 rabbits are sizzling. It's only thanks to the fact that the men are joking loudly with one another and not paying attention to their surroundings that they haven't discovered you yet. Once you reach the edge of the firelight, you say amicably,
Greetings. My name is...
The men jump up and grab their axes.
Who's there?
Well, I'll be. Is that a groundling?
The men look you over suspiciously.
My name is Tundle. May I know with whom I have the pleasure?
A perfect stranger, a groundling speaking like a king. We are woodcutters. Talk our language, or better still, get lost.
I only wanted to be polite.
Sod your politeness and your pretty words, groundling, and be off with you.
The man strengthens his grip on the axe and glares at you with sinister yellow eyes.
Sod off, groundling. Have I made myself clear?
The man comes a step closer.
Put down your weapons or I'll be forced to use mine.
You threatening us, groundling?
Now consider this. I am a dwarf with an axe, and I don't use my axe for cutting down trees.
The men are visibly unsettled and lower their axes a little.
I thought so.
You turn your back on the men and walk back to the path confidently. You don't hear any steps behind you, and only once you've put distance between you do you dare look back over your shoulder. None of the men have followed you. You sigh with relief. It could have ended up a very painful experience if you'd provoked the men or shown them any weakness. You reach the banks of the Warder and can see Axeldale on the other side, but there isn't a bridge for far and wide. The fishermen's boats glide over the water, which sparkles in the sun. You call to the nearest fisherman, He looks across at you briefly before turning away and getting back to his work. You're going to have to find another way of crossing the river. You leave the peaceful banks of the river behind you and continue on your way. You look down on a large village on the banks of the Warder. Some of the village is built on stilts in the river. A wooden bridge spans the fast-flowing water. A huge wooden palisade has been erected to protect the village from attack. The guards on the palisade are watching you. Their armour looks well cared for and well made. The smith who made them knew what he was doing. You conclude that the men depend on the protection the armour offers and aren't just wearing them to look good. They're certainly not villagers. There are small fires burning every 50 steps or so. They are intended to light up the area in front of the palisade in the night, so that orcs can't creep up to within an arrow's reach without being seen. The double gate is made of strong planks, sturdy but still much less solid than the fixed parts of the palisade. Security has been forgone here for practical reasons. Never a good idea when building fortifications. Some of the guards begin to whisper as you near the gate.
Hello up there!
What brings you to fair good water? And have you seen any orcs on your travels, groundling?
The man leaning over the palisade eyes you up and down carefully.
Goodwater is well known for its hospitality.
A fact that you've just made up yourself.
Let me in, and I will tell other travellers all about it.
I regret to inform you that we cannot allow you to enter. The gates stay closed once night has fallen.
There is certainly no regret showing in the man's face.
I'm a blacksmith and a dwarf. Let me tell you, your gate might look solid, but it won't withstand a real orc assault.
The murmuring all around him makes the man pause for a moment. If anyone else had criticized the stronghold, they'd have been laughed down and shooed away. But no one understands defense systems like the dwarves.
A dwarf blacksmith who just happens to be standing in front of our gate?
That's right. I can see to it that orcs crack open their skulls on your gate, just like at home on the High Pass. Skulls that add up to hard cash for you.
You only know about the second-ling stronghold from books, but you can see in the man's face you've pushed the right buttons.
All right then. You can spend the night in the village. You begin work tomorrow morning, and it had better work like you promised.
Of course. It's a trifle.
After a meal, you spend the night in the comfort and shelter of a Goodwater tavern. The next morning, you feel fully refreshed. You strengthen the gate with cross braces of wood and iron, using your experience and skill. Now it should be able to withstand an attack for much longer. Mercenaries and villagers alike watch you work, clearly impressed. As you finish, a man approaches you.
Well done, dwarf. We were right to bring you into our village.
The village grew rich through bridge tolls, and this wealth must be defended.
spent almost half an orbit strengthening the gate. How about a bit of compensation?
The council member's face darkens.
We've paid for food and lodgings, and because we're generous, we've also thrown in the bridge toll. Good day, Mr. Dwarf.
An uneasy feeling has been your constant companion since you left Goodwater. Every little sound in the forest makes you fear you've been discovered by a horde of orcs. But you reach the end of the day without bumping into any of the greenskins. It seems as though Vrakas has granted you one more day in Girdlegard. As night begins to fall, you pass a large oak tree and decide to call it a day. Near the oak tree is an abandoned camp with a fireplace, which appears to be a couple of days old. You take over the abandoned camp. Whoever slept here before clearly left again without any problem. You see that as a good omen, but don't want to rely on your luck and force yourself to stay awake. Some hours later you jolt from an uneasy sleep, and terrified you look around you. Relieved, you notice that the forest all around is just as calm as it was before. You promise yourself that this won't happen again, and look straight into the face of an orc who is holding a knife to your throat. Before you fully realize the hopelessness of your situation, you feel the blade cutting through your jugular. The last thing you see is a group of orcs baring their teeth coming towards you. Then everything turns black.